He did the thing, Kitty. I'm so disappointed.
What thing did he do?
The cliche.
I'm not good enough for her. What? We're different?
What? No.
Which one?
It could mean a man or a woman.
Oh, he did. Oh, jeez. Yes.
Look, I'm
Uh,
pretty...
I can't believe it. I didn't. That wasn't my main comment for this whole chapter, but I did
right?
feel it. Oh.
Look, it came out before Game of Thrones made the cliche cringe. To be fair, I'm pretty sure. But nevertheless, I did cringe. But nevertheless. And I remember
And
I
you
had
did
a
say,
comment like...
yeah, you did say you don't want that.
Yeah.
No, books ago. Like, just, you were like, no. It was one of the first points that you made when we knew there was some sort of prophecy. It was the first thing you were like, it better not be, because we were already playing with Vin being the hero of ages, and you were like, it better not be a flip-flop of pronouns and
Yeah.
translation. And yeah, it is. But I think that doesn't mean that Vin is the hero of ages.
No, I still think, and I think there's a little bit of evidence in this very chapter that it's Sazed still.
Oh, I think it's Ellen.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think we'll get into it in the chapter. As much as... But go on, why do you think it's Ellen?
I will get to it in the chapter. I'll let you know. But it is because he fits it. Prophecy, you can make things fit.
True.
But yeah, Sazed's also still up in the running for it, and I can see what you mean by that. So yeah, obviously your main reaction was about the prophecy and things like that. My thing was more of the relationship stuff, I suppose, that happened in this chapter.
Right.
And
So go on.
Did you have that sense of, when was this written?
Oh my god, I'm so glad you said it first, because I was about to get into it. It's like, I don't know where this chapter would have fit in earlier. And I loved I loved the humor of the way this chapter in a vacuum is structured. But that Vin scene and that Ellen scene does not come off the tail of the last chapter where she decided to leave.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, like, look, there are the bits that it does show you, like they do talk about the killing and all of that, but it feels like it was written for some other part of the book. And it's like, sorry, we were embarking on a huge journey 5 seconds ago. Now it's like, we're just back and we're just chilling and we're coming through the window and we're having a chat, and then, like, sorry. And also just the way Vin's acting, I'm like, oh, so we're not going to talk about anything about why you want to go to the we're not going to talk about that too, because remember, we had our last week, we were saying that, oh, okay, is it going to be Sazed? How are we going to get Sazed? And how are we going to get them to go together, right?
Yeah.
Would Vin bring them with? Would she bring the terracemen with? And that's what we were talking about. Now she goes and speaks to them, and nothing.
Yep.
Doesn't mention it at all.
Exactly. A little bit of, like, emotional whiplash.
Yes.
And it's like I said a little bit back, I don't know where this would have slotted in between the previous chapters. Certainly before the set attack, the attack on set, I think. But
yeah, but he chose to move it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, it very strange. But I loved the content of the chapter. Like,
yes, it was very well done.
Yeah. And the humor, the comedy of Vin coming in, and then Ellen coming in, the comedy of Tindwyl just being put out by it.
But listening anyway.
Yeah. Very, very good. Yeah. I had a refrigerator thought, by the way, this week.
A refrigerator thought, not a elevator thought. A refrigerator thought.
Yes, a refrigerator thought. It's the cousin of the elevator thought. I've been asked a couple of times what I think the book cover is. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe the first time I was asked, I responded in part. I won't go into my full response, but I had basically said that I think it's a bead of atium at the center of
Mm-hmm.
the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in the last chapter, we now have a very large bead of atium.
Mm-hmm.
So I now think that it is that atium on the book cover.
Yeah, it's not just some atium, it's that one.
Yeah,
Mm.
just
I can see why you think that. Yeah.
thank you.
I just have Vin on my cover, so.
And I'm sure that's nice.
Yep.
Okay. Shall we get into the chapter then? Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, that darn Kitty.
Dorkus and I are both going into the story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
Hold on to your butts because this is Ascension Unleashed, a blind read through, and today we will be covering Chapter 45.
Chapter 45! Hold on, I gotta get to the page now. I know what I have memorized. I know what is now repeated by the other Worldbringers.
Cool. Could you tell us?
Very much
You
so.
know, epigraphs can be more than 2 sentences. We've seen that. So could you just give us a little bit more? Just a little bit more. I know what I've memorized. You know.
I think this is in reference to the prophecies. He's memorized it, and now the Worldbringers are saying, it's Alendi, it's Alendi, see?
Yeah. And they're repeating it, and he's like, yeah. So he knows he's the one that convinced them, or was trying to convince them, but now he's. But you're not explaining why. Like, what made you
Right,
change your mind? You're not.
right. Also, this connects to the chapter in the sense that Sazed suddenly has a portion of the rubbing gone missing, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I memorized it. I know what it says, type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. What the hell is going on? Yeah, we didn't talk about that in the preamble, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that one, but for the sake of how does the epigraph connect to this chapter
Mm-hmm.
specifically,
Yeah.
Sazed has memorized something, and he knows what it is
Mm-hmm.
that he's memorized.
Yeah.
Anything else to say on the epigraph?
No. Ah, good.
Great.
The hero of ages won't be Terrace.
Tyndall said, scribbling a note at the bottom of their list. We knew that already. From the logbook.
Yes, but Alendi's account was only a reference, a third hand mention of the effects of a prophecy. I found someone quoting the prophecy itself.
Truly? Where?
Okay, that got me excited because I was like, finally, are we getting the actual prophecy?
Right?
Please.
And we are! Sort of.
Kind of. Not enough. I was not satisfied. The biography of Helen Shin, one of the last survivors of the Council of Clinium.
Write it for me, Sazed said, scooting his chair a bit closer to hers. He had to blink a few times as she wrote, his head clouding for a moment from fatigue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first portion of this chapter gets a little, I don't want to say horror genre, but it gets a little creepy vibe. And I remember very distinctly when Sazed was manipulated by Breeze in the previous chapter, and how we went back and reread the chapter and we saw all the signs from Sazed's POV that he was being manipulated, and that crossed my mind here, especially with what is going to come of the mystery of this chapter.
Okay. Okay, so you have a theory that there is some element there that is manipulating him.
I think it's possible that he's being soothed right now in some manner. It may not be.
By
He
who?
has been working tirelessly. Well, I have a theory on that too. We'll get to that one.
Okay.
But I'm just saying This line sounded very similar to previous lines when he had been soothed.
Okay, Charlie Day.
Stay alert, he told himself. There isn't much time left. Not much at all. Tindwyl was doing a little better than he, but her wakefulness was obviously beginning to run out, for she was starting to droop. He'd taken a quick nap during the night, rolled up on her floor, but she had carried on. As far as he could tell, she'd been awake for over a week straight.
Yeah, that's not good. I guess, yeah, okay, cool. Terracemen can do that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, don't do that. Do take naps in between. But I guess, yeah, they've just been doing that. It's just literally burning the midnight oil.
Yep. Well, look, they don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They have to. They're in desperate measures. They don't know.
Yeah, and this is
It's worth it, yeah.
yeah, it's worth it. As far as they're aware, no one knows this information. No other Terraceman knows this information.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to get as much as they can. They are, I don't want to say the prophets now, but they know that the deepness is probably back. Is back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is. That's what they're confirming.
yeah. There was much talk of Zarabzin during those days, Tindwyl wrote. Some said he would come to fight the Conqueror. Others said he was the Conqueror. Helenshin didn't make his thoughts known on the matter to me. Zarabzin is said to be he who is not of his people, yet fulfills all their wishes. If this is the case, then perhaps the Conqueror is the one. He is said to have been of Klenium. Okay, so
Okay. Discuss.
he who is not of his people, yet fulfills
Mm-hmm.
all their wishes.
Okay.
This is why I think it's proof it's Sazed
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
He who is not
He is not
of
of
his people. I don't mean that as the
Mm-hmm.
pronoun his. I mean
Mm-hmm.
his people, meaning the Terraceman who is not a Terraceman. Meaning someone
Mm-hmm.
who feels very much an outsider to the Terrace people, but is still Terrace, is what
Terrace.
that could
Yeah,
mean.
that really works.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean he is not this sentence, he who is not of his people, does not
Mm-hmm.
mean he is not a Terraceman. It means he is an
Absolutely not.
outsider to the Terraceman.
He's still, yes, his. There's two hises there. He is not of his people. His is two pronouns, right?
Mm-hmm.
He who is not of his people. It's still, they are still his.
Mm-hmm.
They're still his. I'm with you on that. They are still his people. So it doesn't necessarily mean no, it's not. That person will not be terrorist. So I guess that's what's been put up. I am leaning more towards yes. Okay, hold on. My goodness.
Continue.
Right. So I am okay. I started off this chapter thinking Elendi, Elend. That's why I was thinking Elendi and Elend. That was
Okay.
obvious. So yes, I understand it. This does seem more right. This interpretation does seem more right. What I was thinking is also that Elend is he calls the Scar his people, but he's not of them. So it's not even about whether he's
Oh,
terrorist or not. So they are his people. They've rejected him outright. So he is an outsider as well. He's a nobleman,
that's very true.
and but the noblemen have also are not. He's the most outside of all of them because he's not nobleman. He's not Scar. He's Elend, and he considers them all his people. So that's what I was focused on. So it could be him, but what I'm really picking up from this is yeah, they've the first line of this chapter was the what's it, the hero of ages won't be terrorist. That does not compute.
Yeah.
Like that's too strict
Yeah.
a line to draw, I think.
Yeah. And as far as Elend goes, I definitely think that there are parallels between Elend and Alendi. We went into it at length in previous chapters about how Elend, by comparison to Alendi, is someone who wouldn't make moral sacrifices under any circumstance. That has been proven time and time again throughout this book, whereas Elendi was. And I do think by the end of this chapter, Sazed doesn't just think it could be Vin, but could also be Elend.
Do you think Sazed's on that? I don't know. He wants to get both of them out the city.
Yeah.
Mm,
We'll get to it when we get to the end of the chapter, but I'm
okay.
my recollection of it
Is
was
that
that he was
Sazed's
open to
even
the
considering?
possibility.
Okay. I'm good. I'm glad. I mean, we have these three options. We have Vin, which both of us are like, nah, that would be too obvious. We don't like it. Then we had Elend as a contender. We did, but this chapter's made you think really much at Sazed.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I still think it's up in the air. It could go either way. It just depends which way it goes. What else gets fulfilled? What other things we focus on? Because of the lovely nature of prophecy being able to fit so many different things. See,
right?
I interpreted it the way, and the whole reason, the whole thing that we got of Elend basically not becoming king because he wouldn't give up his principles. It's a very important thing for us. So when it
Hmm.
comes to him going to the Well of Ascension, that's something that makes me believe, yeah, he would not give up his principles. He would do what's right for everybody.
Agreed.
So that's what makes me go, well, I hope it's him. Not that I think Sazed's bad, but it's just I hope it's him because that would be even more beautiful as his arc.
Right. Agreed. She stopped there. Sazed frowned, reading the words again. Quan's last testimony, the rubbing Sazed had taken at the conventicle of Saron, had proven useful in more than one way. It had provided a key. It wasn't until years later that I became convinced that he was the hero of ages, Quan had written. Hero of ages, the one called Rabzin in Klenium, the Anomnisor. The rubbing was a means of translation, not between languages, but between synonyms. It made sense that there would be other names for the hero of ages. A figure that important, so surrounded by lore, would have many titles, yet so much had been lost from those days. The Rabzin and the Anamnesor were both mythological figures vaguely familiar to Sazed, but they were only two among hosts. Until the discovery of the rubbing, there had been no way to connect their names to the hero of ages. That was excellent. Um,
Yes, I was about to say.
yeah, very cool.
It's not just, oh, lampshade, okay, this is why they didn't think of it before or anything like that. It's like, no, it's proper historian explanation, scholarly explanation for how they're working.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it.
yeah, and I vaguely remember not complaining, but contemplating this idea of a passage that Tyndall had found in a previous chapter, I think, and I was like, how did no one notice this
Hmm.
passage right here? It seems so important. It's clearly, and it's like, oh, well, when you write it out like this, it
Hmm.
makes sense why you wouldn't see anything. Like, I've heard a theory that the Egyptian gods are the Greek gods.
Hmm.
And this it's I think this is sort of the concept that that's trying to get at, but if you didn't know like why someone would make that theory, it would be like why would Ra
Why would
be
you make it?
Zeus or yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Why would that not just be a random, thought?
Exactly.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed this
Yeah,
passage.
I appreciated it. Yeah.
Now Tyndall and he could search their metal mines with open eyes. Perhaps in the past, Sazed had read this very passage from Helentian's biography. He had at least skimmed many of the older records, searching for religious references, yet he would never have been able to realize that the passage was referring to the hero of ages, a figure from Terrace lore that the Clenny people had renamed into their own tongue. Yes, he said slowly. This is good, Tyndall. Very good. He reached over, laying his hand on hers. He likes her.
They touched hands. Ooh. No, I appreciate that gesture as well, though. That like they're close. Like he put hand on her. Hmm. Perhaps, though it tells us nothing new.
Ah, but the wording might be important, I think. Religions are often very careful with their writings,
Especially prophecies.
Tyndall said, frowning a bit. She was not fond of anything that smacked of superstition or soothsaying. And at that sentence, I had a suspicion where this would go for her character. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, this could be a sticking point between them a little bit.
Yeah,
And it,
I was here for it. I was excited for it though,
yeah, me too,
because
me too.
I want to hear them disagree. Yeah, because it'll be interesting. And I don't think they're neither of them are debate bros that are going to get angry at each other. They're just going to be like, no, this is what I think, and she's going to be like, well, this is what I think, and then they're just going to have to deal with each other. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would have thought, Sazed noted, that you would no longer have this prejudice considering our current enterprise.
I gather information, says it, because of what it says of people and because of what the past can teach us. However, there is a reason I took to studying history as opposed to theology. I don't approve of perpetuating lies.
Is that what you think I do when I teach of religions? He asked in amusement. Tyndall looked
I think it, sorry,
gone.
like he's got amusement there, but it's like, I'm glad he's got amusement, but it's like, yeah, imagine thinking that, yeah, all that Sazed is doing is just talking about lies. Like, I think that's why he's got amusement, because it's like that's very reductive for you to say, Tyndall. Like the way Sazed has spoken about religions and things like that, they have value, whether or not you believe in them. They've got certain lessons that he's always imparting. Like especially in book one, that was a great thing for us. That's how we learned about Sazed.
Yeah. Uh, I love this as I mean, first off, I think there are a lot of people who feel as Tyndall feels,
Mm-hmm.
but I love that this is a part of her character.
Mm.
I think it fits her very well. And
Yeah.
the value that she does see in religion, insofar as it informs history, I think
Mm-hmm.
is really interesting. And oh, shoot, I was gonna say something and it's totally gone now.
It'll come back. We can
I
carry
hope
on if you
so.
want.
Anyway, hopefully it'll come back. Tyndall looked toward him.
A bit. How can you teach the people to look towards the gods of the dead, Sazed? Those religions did their people little good, and their prophecies are now dust.
Religions are an expression of hope. That hope gives people strength.
Then you don't believe. You just give the people something to trust, something to delude themselves.
I would not describe it so.
Then you think the gods you teach of do exist.
I think that they deserve to be remembered.
And their prophecies? I see scholarly value in what we do. The bringing to light of facts from the past could give us information about our current problems. Yet this soothsaying for the future is, at its core, foolishness.
I would not say that. Religions are promises. Promises that there is something watching over us, guiding us. Prophecies, therefore, are natural extensions of the hopes and desires of the people, not foolishness at all.
So your interest is purely academic.
That is not how I would characterize it. So, one of the big things I did notice is
Mhm.
Sazed's doing a lot of, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I would say.
But he
Which
doesn't know what he's saying.
sure, but also she again, I like what she's saying. I think she's
Mhm.
making relatively strong arguments, which I find
Mhm.
interesting because I last week I think it was we covered the week before last week we covered the Teravangian Yasna argument or debate, and I
Mm.
fell more
Mhm.
on the Teravangian side, but here Tyndall's making, I think, better arguments than Yasna did, but a lot of her
Mm.
arguments seem to be framing the opposing side with disdain more so than Yasna
Mhm.
did.
Yeah. Like there's look she but okay, she has the disdain of like it's foolishness, like she has disdain for the concept of prophecy. She doesn't have disdain completely for religion.
Hmm.
She just has this, it's prophecy is where it sticks for her, and she just doesn't like the idea of they didn't do like they didn't do any good for those people. The fact that they
Yeah.
had these religions, they died out anyway. So what's the point? It makes sense, and her arguments do seem stronger than Sazed's because Sazed doesn't have any arguments here. He's just saying, look, this is what I feel about religions and their hopes and whatever. But she is saying, yeah, but do you get to the truth of them? Do you believe in all of them? Like I don't. It's like I don't think he knows. I don't think he
No.
knows. He values them, and he does, but he doesn't believe them, does he?
He I think he said something to the effect of he
He's said
believes in them all.
yes, he believes in them all. Yeah.
And I'm under the impression that Sazed sort of has this holistic, I am in
Mm.
this situation right now, and this religion said this in this moment, and that is useful to me. And then in
Yeah,
another
he's eclectic.
situation, he would, yeah, that's a good word for it, eclectic. And not a bad way to be, I think.
He's sincere. He's using it.
Hmm.
So he doesn't. But the thing is, at some point, you have to go, yeah, but then you have to believe certain foundational truths of these. Well, you have to. I don't know. We could argue about the have to, but each religion would have certain foundational truths that would probably not coincide with each other,
Which is what
and
Ellen
that would be a
said.
problem. Yeah, but he's like, no, he just takes the lessons. So, and that is a form of belief. If you
Hmm.
are taking them and making them valuable, I understand that. But it's very hard to explain that logically and not say, yeah, I know it makes no sense, but it works for me.
Yeah.
um, is kind of what Sazed has to do here, and I like that Tyndall is like, well, it doesn't work for me. I'm wondering if she will come around to it a little bit. Whether the disdain at least will subside.
Soften.
Yeah, because Sazed is using it for good, and but she's like, oh, it's lies. She's very much about, oh, it's a lie
I mean,
and delusion.
it would be very interesting. One of two things could happen. One is that she essentially becomes a convert when it becomes undeniable that Vin is the hero of ages type of a situation. Or
Mm.
she could remain steadfast in her opinion, but see events playing out again where the Terrace people all come to think, oh my god, Vin's the hero of ages, and she's over here being like, no, are you all stupid? No, there's no such
Yeah, I feel
thing.
like yeah, I think she might be the one that has to turn everybody because Sazed, I think Sazed lands up thinking it's Vin.
Hmm.
Hmm. We'll get to it. What he thinks.
Yeah. Tyndall studied him, watching his eyes. She frowned slowly.
You believe it, don't you? You believe that this girl is the hero of ages.
I have not yet decided. I believe that. We know he's very slow to coming to decisions. I
Yes, like
think I
he's got to
yeah.
consider everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in his heart he's leaning that way, either that or
Hmm.
Ellen. But I think he's trying to be rational in that feeling.
Yeah, he's trying not to just say yes. Saying that he has a decision means that he's not swayed. He's decided. He's got enough evidence, but
Hmm.
he suspects it. I think that's as close as we can get. He suspects it, and maybe he hopes. Maybe you do hope that there is a hero of ages amongst you. If you find out, listen. I mean, if you find out the deepness is coming back, okay, and oh, the hero of ages, we need the hero of ages. I think you would have hope that they're nearby.
Yeah.
So yeah, and not just nearby, they're your friend.
Yeah.
Or they're you.
Right? A total non sequitur, by the way.
Uh-huh.
But last chapter we were talking about Ham talking about how powerful Vin is. Remember that?
Mhm. Yeah.
So the moment Ham was talking about where she was taking a beating from the thug,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
believe was when in the fight Vin was using her Duralumin to take the punches. I remember her doing that mid fight. Do you remember that?
Mm. No, but I believe you.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there was a point mid fight where she had to withstand a blow from a thug, so she burned it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I believe that's the moment Ham was referring to.
Mhm.
which had me wondering, does Ham and the group not know about Duralumin? And the reason that question is sitting a little bit uncomfortably with me right now is because I'm pretty sure she burned it at one point when Ham was present, and it worked. I think it was like right at the beginning of the book, and nothing happened because she wasn't burning anything else.
Mhm.
But Ham should know that she knows a new metal. But I don't think it's ever been specifically specified
Yeah, Ham
how
should
much
know
they
that
know.
she's trying. Okay, so Ham should know she's trying combinations, and
Hmm.
at from that, Vin tried a metal and it didn't work. So he doesn't know about Duralumin
Well, no,
being
he should know it.
useful.
He should know it did work in the sense that she didn't keel over sick.
Yes. Yeah, he does know that, but also he's not Mistborn, so he's not gonna know too much about any other metal.
Fair,
He's
and
just he
it's
just knows his
not
own.
it's
Yeah.
not in Vin's nature to reveal the secrets.
Yeah.
I suppose if she doesn't have to.
But
So
that consideration should still be within him. It's just I guess he's just not thinking about it, but he could go, well, she was fiddling with all different kinds of metal. Has she found something that makes her stronger? That should be a possibility that crosses his mind.
yeah, but that said, they were also commenting during the duel about
Mm,
how much better she is regardless, and we already
yeah.
knew that. So
Vin is special.
Vin's
Sorry.
special. Anyway,
You believe it, don't you? You believe that this girl is a hero of ages.
I have not decided.
How can you even consider such a thing, Zazet? Don't you see? Hope is a good thing, a wonderful thing. But you must have hope in something appropriate. If you perpetuate the dreams of the past, then you stifle your own dreams for the future.
What if the past dreams are worthy of being remembered? Now, hold on, Sazed. Being remembered and being believed in are technically two different
Yes.
things.
Yeah, that's practical application. He's
Yes,
literally taking her to the Well of Ascension.
yeah, and I think that's a strong argument from Tindwell.
Hmm. Yeah.
Tindwell shook her head.
Look at the odds, Sazed. What are the chances we would end up here where we are, studying this rubbing, in the very same household as the hero of ages?
Odds are irrelevant when a foretelling is involved. Loved that line.
Yeah, it
Great
really
line.
is. Sorry, that's the beauty. The beauty of it reminds me again of just Wheel of Time. What Wheel of Time did is they made a concept out of this called Taviran, where basically things shape themselves around a certain person in the pattern of things, right? So things will happen that are very lucky or very fortuitous to that person. And it's not like it lampshades contrivance. It doesn't do that. It actually makes it an actual factor in the world. Like things will land for one of the strongest ones, who's the center of everything. Things will land point like all knives will land on their points or something like that. Something really obscure and unlikely will happen around him, and that's kind of how they actually landed up finding him along the way. Sorry, I'm kind of
Nice.
spoiling it, but I don't know if you'll get that far anyway. Um,
It'll all be out of my head by the time I actually pick up the
yeah,
book.
true. Yeah, but yes, that basically go Sarzed with that. That's true, but you also need to figure out a way to make sense of what it is you're trying. What is your belief here, Sarzed? Stop dodging. He's dodging.
Yes. Tindwell closed her eyes.
Sazed, I think religion is a good thing. A belief is a good thing. But it is foolishness to look for guidance in a few vague phrases. Look at what happened last time someone assumed they had found this hero. The Lord Ruler, the final empire, was the result.
And that's a very nihilistic thing.
Yeah.
After you break up with someone, it's like, I don't want to date anymore because this hurts so much. Rephrase. After someone breaks up with you, I don't want to date anymore because it hurts
Mm.
so much. But love is so nice.
Yeah, and trust as well. Hey, just think about that. We had that whole theme of trust with Kelsia, right?
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing of you trust even though you know it could hurt you. So trusting in a religion is the same sort of thing here, where you're trusting in this belief, and it could, I suppose, it could let you down, or things might not turn out the way you thought, but you still have to have faith.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Still, I will hope. If you do not believe the prophecies, then why work so hard to discover information about the deepness and the hero?
It's simple. We are obviously facing danger that has come before, a recurring problem, like a plague that plays itself out, only to return again centuries later. The ancient people knew of this danger and had information about it. That information naturally broke down and became legends, prophecies, and even religions. There will be, then, clues to our situation hidden in the past. This is not a matter of soothsaying, but of research.
Loved it. Loved every
Mm-hmm.
sentence. Loved every word.
Yeah. Tyndall is the brakes and Sazed is the gas at the moment.
Oh, I do like that.
Because he's like, let's go, let's believe. And she's like, cool, cool, cool. I'm looking for the data.
To be fair, he said he hasn't decided yet, but
Yeah,
yes, I agree with the
but he's,
breaks
yeah.
comparison.
Well, he's got a lot of
He wants
passion
to.
there. Yeah. He wants to. Yes, he wants to believe something. She's like, okay, I need as much information as possible. I'm not trying to find the answer. I'm trying to find answers.
Hmm. Is there a meaningful difference between looking for conclusions and wanting answers?
Mm, you could dig it out, I suppose. Conclusion seems more like an ending, whereas answers is like you go forward and you use those answers within actions.
Hmm.
Conclusions is like, oh, I know that, and then you go on and live your life.
Interesting.
If I really wanted to make a difference between those two words.
Right. Looking for conclusions strikes me as I'm going to compare these things and form a belief based on the comparison or the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that I've gained. Whereas answers strikes me as maybe something a little bit different. The why. An answer is the
Yeah,
why.
we're answering questions, whereas conclusions is getting facts. I don't know, and I see what you mean. It's more
Yeah.
like you get a whole system, a whole belief underneath with a conclusion, whereas an answer is more specific.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, Sazed lay his hand on hers. I think perhaps this is something we cannot agree upon. Come, let us return to our studies. We must use the time we have left.
You know what? That's great. We don't need. He noticed that. Yeah, we are really going in circles with this. We're not really going. We have different motives over here. We have different things, but we do have to do the same thing. We do have to continue studying. So this is something we can't agree on. Let's not waste our time disagreeing.
Hmm.
We should be all right.
Tyndall said, sighing and reaching to tuck a bit of hair back into her bun.
Apparently, your hero scared off Lord Set last night. The maid who brought breakfast was speaking of it.
I know of the event.
Then things are growing better for Luthadel.
Yes, perhaps. She frowned.
You seem hesitant.
I do not know. I do not feel that Set's departure is a good thing, Tyndville. Something is very wrong. We need to be finished with these studies. Tyndville cocked her head.
How soon?
We should try to be done tonight, I think, Sazed said, glancing toward the pile of unbound sheets they had stacked on the table. That stack contained all the notes, ideas, and connections that they'd made during their furious bout of study. It was a book of sorts, a guidebook that told of the hero of ages and the deepness. A good document, incredible considering the time they'd been given. It was not comprehensive, but it was probably the most important thing he'd ever written, even if he wasn't certain why. Loved that
Mm.
passage.
Yeah, very much on the feelings side of things, on the whispers side of things, of like, oh, I've done something very important here that will change the world
Hmm.
somehow. Mm, I'm also thinking, sorry, I'm just trying to place this, right? We had, because remember that whole thing of like, where the hell are we in time
Right.
of this chapter? Because she says last night, your hero scared off Lord Set last night. So We're just on the next day.
Right.
And in the previous chapter, it was what? Nobody had seen her since.
I
So has
I think it was the following day, so I think this happens right after their conversation at the hole.
mm, at the
Which
whole.
again,
Yeah,
neither of them are behaving as if they just
they just
had
did that.
that exhausting conversation.
Yeah, and that a lot of time has gone past since that conversation. Like it feels like they would have gone back. He found her, and then they would have gone back and I don't know, slept or something. But it seems like there's more time between. It's acting as if there is more time between that conversation and now,
Yeah.
which it it was weird. We'll get to it, but yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted when she said last night, I was like, first thing that makes you go, whoa,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, they're both. I think what it is that even though they're both talking about high stakes, important things,
hmm
both their demeanors are a bit
hmm
too nonchalant coming off the end of she just killed more than 100 people and is probably exhausted and just decided to leave the city, which has been this big
yeah,
emotional thing. I'm not saying she can't be nonchalant, but it felt weird. I wish Sanderson had not made her more distressed, but maybe a bit more exhausted during the conversation. And
yeah.
a similar thing with Alan.
Like I know they could be putting their best face on for Sazed. That makes
Yeah.
sense, putting their best face on it. But you're right. There should have been some sort of give towards it. Like it was so jarring, and I don't imagine there is a reason for that jarring
And
feeling.
and the other thing is Sazed is going to ask Vin to keep an eye on their room, and she's like, "Yeah, I can do that for you." It's like, "I'm sorry. When will you have
Yeah,
time? Did you not just say you were going to leave the city? Is that not going to happen quickly?"
yeah. What the hell? Yeah, exactly. That also just made me go, oh, so when are you going to say goodbye, Vin? Are you going to say goodbye? Are you just going to freaking leave? You're just going to abandon people? Oh, that's a good thing. That's a Reen thing to do.
Yeah.
Not that he did,
Anyway,
but yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll get to that.
Sazed? What is this?
She reached to the stack of papers, pulling out a sheet that was slightly askew. As she held it up, Sazed was shocked to see that a chunk from the bottom right corner had been torn off.
Did you do this?
No, Sazed said. He accepted the paper. It was one of the transcriptions of the rubbing. The tear had removed the last sentence or so. There was no sign of the missing piece. Sazed looked up, meeting Tindwell's confused gaze. She turned, shuffling through a stack of papers to the side. She pulled out another copy of the transcription and held it up. Sazed felt a chill. The corner was missing. And at that point, I was like, I'm so scared. What happened?
I was wondering, okay, Condra spies, what, why, and I was just like, wait, what has been cut out here? And there was no real fear that we're not going to know what was cut out because they're keepers. But it still is like something is trying to take knowledge from us. What is this? Why does it want to take evidence from
and
us?
it was only stealing one specific line, not
Yeah,
the whole book, which means the perpetrator is not averse to the contents of the book, just the one line.
yeah.
And it wasn't until roughly the end of this segment that I started thinking, and I have two options. One I
hmm
think is more likely than the other, but we'll get to that
Okay,
once we finish this element.
excited
Yeah?
to hear it.
Great.
I referenced this yesterday. I haven't left the room save for a few minutes since then, and you were always here.
Did you leave last night?
P-
To visit the privy while I slept?
Perhaps. I don't remember.
Sazed sat for a moment, staring at the page. The tear was eerily similar in shape to the one from their main stack. Tyndall, apparently thinking the same thing, laid it over its companion. It matched perfectly. Even the smallest ridges in the tears were identical. If they'd been torn lying right on top of one another, the duplication wouldn't have been so perfect. Both of them sat and
Sorry, I don't understand what's going on here. What is that? Like, what is that part of this mystery? Like, it's supernatural?
Yes, that's
Mm,
what I was concluding, and that they were torn from the same exact space.
hmm. Like, it's a very important point that they're making there, that it's not just, oh, it's torn. It's like, it's torn exactly, which I have no answers for that. I hope you do.
I think I do.
Good.
Both of them sat and stared. Then they burst into motion, rifling through their stacks of pages. Sazed had 4 copies of the transcription. All were missing the same exact chunk.
Sazed.
Tindwell said, her voice shaking a bit. She held up a sheet of paper. See, the way he writes this, it's so like there's a creepiness to it, right? Am I
The
crazy?
music is creepy. Yeah, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know what you mean.
She held up a sheet of paper, one that had only half of the transcription on it, ending near the middle of the page. A hole had been torn directly in the middle of the page, removing the exact same sentence.
Sarabbing.
Tindwell said, but Sazed was already moving. He left his chair, rushing to the trunk where he stored his metal mines. He fumbled with the key at his neck, pulling it off and unlocking the trunk. He threw it open, removed the rubbing, then unfolded it delicately on the ground. He withdrew his fingers suddenly, feeling almost as if he'd been bitten, as he saw the tear at the bottom, the same sentence, removed.
How is this possible?
Now, it's important to note, whatever did this got into the crate
Mm-hmm.
without breaking
Mm-hmm.
the lock.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. Continue.
Okay. Okay. I have theories and had theories, but I didn't flesh them out very much. Okay.
Okay.
How is this possible? How could someone know so much of our work? So much of us?
And yet, how could they know so little of our abilities? I have the entire transcription stored in my metal mind. I can remember it right now.
What does the missing sentence say?
Alendi must not reach the Well of Ascension, for he must not be allowed to take the power for himself. So, first off, why do you think it's that specific line that's gone missing?
I am not sure. That's where I'm stuck. Why my theories didn't go further? Because I was thinking, has Vin taken this? Because what made me think of Vin was just like, if she used like metal to still pushing and whatever to cut very precisely. I don't know why she would do that, but that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
And she could open the trunk with just moving things around inside. But I still don't get why she would. It doesn't make sense. Like that's what I was considering. That it doesn't make sense why she would take all of that from them, because she would want to know as much as she could about the Well of Ascension. So what I'm saying is, I have no idea.
Okay. So I don't have any real idea, but I have a whole imagined scenario, as I tend to make, based off of
Hmm.
my theories. The
Okay.
short of it, insofar as it pertains to this specific part, again leans in favor of, wow, that's a lot to not say anything, the Elend Alendi comparison. I
Hmm.
think whoever did this might also be comparing Elend and Alendi in some fashion. Even the names are similar.
Hmm.
I think there might be something there.
But why would they care? I mean, from a meta point of view, we have made the similar, like we've looked at the similarities between Alendi and Elend, and it's just been from us thinking about Sanderson using these two things.
Sure.
But why would it matter whether this ancient person's name is like Elend? Like, why? If is there some sort of scripture that says the names will or similar? He will be named Alendi. He will, something like that. Then I can understand. But I'm just thinking, in world, what does it matter that this guy's name
Okay.
is similar?
So that I don't know whatsoever. Just a thought I had.
Mm.
But I
Hmm.
think we've more or less made it far enough in that I can reveal my thoughts on who it might be. Before I do, though, you said you thought it might have been Vin for a little while. Is there anyone else you
But then
thought?
I've got, I did think of Orasur. I didn't. That I had no real thought of who could have done this. I was
Okay.
thinking of supernatural ways that they could do it.
Ah, you're so close to thinking what I think. So
Yeah.
close. So
Is it the
for a
mist wraith? Okay, tell me.
yes, yes, it is. It's the
Okay.
mystery. Okay, so I very briefly wondered if it was the mysterious obligator, possibly Marsh,
Uh-huh.
but I don't
Mhm.
think so. Then
Mhm.
I
Yes,
thought
I did also think
we haven't thought of the mist wraith in a really really
mm.
long time,
The spirit,
and
the mist spirit, yeah.
yeah, and what else could get into an
It could do
enclosed
that.
space without breaking
Yeah.
a lock? And we know it can interact with things because it broke Vin's
Mm.
arms.
True.
And I kind of think the Mistwraith is a person. I don't know who or how or why, but
Yes.
I think there's something
Okay.
there.
I agree. I agree. I was thinking there is some spirit. I don't know why I didn't put them together and just be like, it's the Mistwraith spirit. But I was like, okay, so, like I said, something supernatural.
Hmm.
I'm comfortable with that theory because we don't know anything about this spirit. We don't,
Hmm.
but it seems sapient. So that makes sense. It would know something about what
Yeah.
is it? So I think it is. I'm with you.
Thank you. Now, a part of me did wonder as I was thinking of all of this whether or not this Mistwraith thing is Alendi himself,
Yeah.
because we don't know the specific circumstances of what happened to him at the Well of Ascension, but
Mhm.
there was a Mistwraith thing that stabbed Fedek. So that pre-existed Alendi's death. So maybe it's
Mhm.
not, unless there are a whole bunch of Mistwraithy people, which seems scary.
Scary but
So,
possible. And I don't know,
possible.
maybe it takes over the person it kills or something. You don't know.
In which case it would be Fedek, not Alendi, because we presume
No,
that
but then
Rashek was
yeah,
the
but
one that
then
killed Alendi.
yeah, but then Fedek, then maybe yeah, we don't know. Well, I suppose we do know that Rashek killed Elendi, right? Didn't he say it? No,
No,
Vin
he
did.
said you know nothing of that. Yeah, Vin said
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
So there's so much we don't know.
I like it. I like that we don't know. I want to find out.
I agree.
Why remove this sentence?
Sazed stared at the rubbing. This seems impossible. A noise sounded at the window. Sazed spun, reaching reflexively into his pewter mind and increasing his strength. His muscles swelled, his robes growing tight. The shutters swung open. Vin crouched on the sill. She paused as she saw Sazed and Tindwyl, who had also apparently tapped strength, growing to have almost masculine bulk.
Did I do something wrong?
Vin asked. Sazed smiled, releasing his pewter mind. No, child. You simply startled us. He met Tindwyl's eyes, and she began to gather up the ripped pieces of paper. Sazed folded up the rubbing. They would discuss it further later. Have you seen anyone spending too much time around my room, Lady Wynne? Sazed asked as he replaced the rubbing. Any strangers, or even any particular guards?
No.
Vin said, climbing into the room. She walked barefoot, as usual, and she didn't wear her mist cloak. She rarely did in the daytime. If she had fought the night before, she had changed clothing, for there were no stains of blood, or even sweat, on the outfit.
Do you want me to watch for anyone suspicious?
Yes, please, Sazed said, locking the chest. We fear that someone has been rifling through our work, so why they would wish to do so is confusing. Vin nodded, remaining where she was as Sazed returned to his seat. She regarded him and Tindwyl for a moment.
I need to talk to you, Sazed.
I can spare a few moments, I think, but I must warn you that my studies are very pressing. Vin nodded, then glanced at Tindwyl, who sighed, rising.
I guess I will go and see about lunch then.
I thought that was funny, and that sort of starts the switch into a more comedic, lighthearted chapter. Little bit, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, and like I was expecting because we have Vin there wanting to speak to Sazed, so I'm like, okay, this is about the moral feelings that she's having
Mm-hmm.
about leaving, all of that's what she's here to talk about. That's what I thought. So it was still congruent for me, but it was a nice little touch that Tindwyl it's a bit of a laugh, like she just looks at Tindwyl and Tindwyl leaves. That sort of thing. That seemed okay. But
Yeah.
now it really goes out the window.
Yeah. Vin relaxed slightly as the door closed. Then she moved over to the table, sitting down in Tyndall's chair, pulling her legs up before her on the wooden seat.
Sazed, how do you know if you're in love? Now at that point I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, no, no. Like she puts her hands, she's like, oh, you know, I don't know if why are we focusing on this? Your main thing that you were in tears and shaking about 5 minutes ago, it feels like, was
Mhm.
killing people and being a bad person and needing to leave Ellen and all of this. But how do I know if I'm in love? It felt a bit like, what is this? A sleepover?
Right? And she
So,
does bring up that she killed at least 100 people later
mm,
on, but
it's
it's not
not.
even that she
Yeah.
minimized it, but you're right, coming off the heels of having just done it, it's like you can be a little shaken. I know you went and you were alone and relaxed a little bit, but there should be a weight there that
I thought that, yeah.
go on.
And I thought that weight, she was coming to Sazed with that weight, but instead she
Mhm.
comes, and I'm not saying that this weight, this emotional thing that she does come to him with is not there and is not important, but I feel like that would come second. It's part of it. It's part of it
Yeah,
all.
because it is all connected, certainly.
Mm. Yeah, so I just thought that her main focus would be on the shame of it and focusing on that making her unworthy of Ellen, and then we get into the love part of it. But her starting with the love part of it is it's weird. It's like it's all the
It,
wrong way around for me.
especially because, in a way, I think the love part of it should be harder for her
Hmm.
to bring
To talk.
up.
Yeah. So it just struck me. From here, it was already striking me like, okay, well, so yes, it could get deeper from this stage. I understand. But when her first go to question is about being in love and how to know, instead of how do you know you are loved or something like that, it was already that was like I was sniffing, okay, whoa, this is weird.
Right. And it's like we were coming off the heels of a lot of very stressed chapters and stressed
Mm,
emotions. So I also understand
the
Sanderson
light
wanting to
touch.
break that up a little bit.
Mm, yeah.
I guess it's a risk reward thing, but yeah, I don't know. This is what we're experiencing with it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It's weird. I don't know if there's any reason for it other than, yeah, it's just because the pacing. We've just been shown this great crazy mystery with the mist race things. Like that's quite insane, and kind of like, okay, we kind of do need to just deal with the character of it, I suppose, the characterness. So yeah, it's somewhat of a criticism, but it's not like book breaking.
No, not at all. Not at
Mm.
all.
Sazed, how do you know if you're in love?
Sawset blinked. I I do not think I am one to speak on this topic, Lady Wynne. I know very little about it.
You always say things like that, but really you're an expert on just about everything.
In this case, I assure you that my insecurity is heartfelt, Lady Wynne.
Still, you've got to know something.
A bit, perhaps. Tell me, how do you feel when you are with young Lord Wincher?
Ooh. Okay. Then also, sorry, just one thing to note. Sazed does know a thing or two about love because he loved Tindwell.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so just keep that in mind as we go through what he thinks about love because I noticed that.
Same,
Um, yeah. Okay. I want him to hold me.
Vin said quietly, turning to the side, looking out the window.
I want him to talk to me, even if I don't understand what he's saying. Anything to keep him there with me. I want to be better because of him.
That seems like a very good sign, Lady Wynne.
But I'm not good for him, Sazed. He's scared of me.
Scared?
Well, he's at least uncomfortable with me. I saw the look in his eyes when he saw me fighting on the day of the assembly attack. He stumbled away from me, Sazed, horrified.
He'd just seen a man slain. Lord Wencher is somewhat innocent in these matters, Lady Wynne. It wasn't you, I think. It was simply a natural reaction to the horror of death.
Agreed.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
that's actually was what it was. It actually, because we thought it was more than that.
And
Maybe
then
it
it
was because
wasn't.
we were in Vin's POV, and we thought, okay, well, even then though, we did say he's not going to completely leave her. It was just that this will freak him out, and he'll need some time.
Mm-hmm.
But he went the complete opposite. He was like, she's so freaking cool, and she had to save me, and like that's it. He didn't go any way,
Not to
any
re
yeah.
not to
Mm.
rehash the dogmatism conversation that we had, but yeah, he's Vin can do no wrong, really,
Mhm.
for Elend. It
Mhm.
seems. I actually really do hope there's a point where he gets upset with her.
Yeah, it's part of being with your partner. You're going to
Hmm.
have to understand that they can disappoint you, and you do get to be upset. And yes, you
Yeah,
can get past it, but you must be upset. You
yeah,
can't just keep glossing over it all the time, because that will come back.
yeah. I hope it has to do with the brother's secret that she's keeping, but again, she
Yes.
hasn't once thought it, so
Mm,
we'll see what happens. But
yeah.
yeah,
But I think we both agree we need Ellen at some point to be disappointed in Vin properly.
hmm,
And there's been little signs like he's trying. Oh, she had a good reason. She had a good reason, and we don't know what he thought after that. Essentially, because I don't know, his conversation here doesn't give us much into his own mind how he sees Vin.
hmm,
We don't know. It's not exact. It's not enough for me. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. So maybe he is there. Maybe he does get disappointed in her. Because her reason was just to protect him. So maybe he is considering that.
I'll believe it when I read it.
Hmm. Either way,
Vin said, glancing back out the window.
I don't want him to see me that way. I want to be the girl he needs, the girl who can support his political plans, the girl who can be pretty when he needs her on his arm, and who can comfort him when he's frustrated. Except that's not me. You're the one who trained me to act like a courtly woman, Saz. But we both know that I wasn't all that good at it.
And Lord Winter fell in love with you. Because you didn't act like the other women, despite Master Kelsier's interference, despite your knowledge that all noblemen were our enemies, Elend fell in love with you.
I shouldn't have let him. I need to stay away from him, Saz, for his own good. That way he can fall in love with someone else. Someone who is a better match for him. Someone who doesn't go kill 100 people when she gets frustrated. Someone who deserves his love. So that was really flippant, the way she referred to it. I guess you could diminish it to, yeah, she just got frustrated and killed 100 people.
Yeah,
And it's quite self-disparaging, I suppose, as well, by
yeah.
diminishing it.
It's very removed from what
Hmm.
literally happened hours ago.
Yeah. And what you felt about it. See,
Hmm.
that was where the disconnect came, but I understand you could maybe just run from it, and also just it actually minimizing it hurts you yourself, actually.
I wonder, like, it just how much different it would be if Sanderson had just put in a little bit of like a tear streamed down her face or something like that, just to
Her body went
add,
rigid, yeah, something.
yeah, to add some sort of gravity to that.
And that she passes through it. She doesn't, they don't have to talk about it. But there's
Hmm.
some sign that that is a big deal, but then it passes. That would
Yeah,
make more sense to me, yeah.
yeah. Sazed rose, robes swishing as he stepped to Vin's chair. He stooped down, placing his head even with hers, laying a hand on her shoulder. Oh, child, when will you stop worrying and simply let yourself be loved?
Oh, I love that line.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I keep interrupting, but just really love that line. I was like, yes, that's what we've been saying. Just let yourself be loved.
Yep, Sazed has the best lines. It's very sweet.
Mm,
Vin shook her head.
it's not that easy.
Few things are. Yet I tell you this, Lady Wynne. Love must be allowed to flow both ways. If it does not, then it is not truly love, I think. It is something else. Infatuation, perhaps? In any case, there are some of us who are far too quick to make martyrs of ourselves. We stand at the side, watching, thinking that we do the right thing by inaction. We fear pain, our own or that of another. And that's clearly about himself and the
Mhm.
lesson he
Yep.
learned about himself.
I loved that. I loved that from him. It's like it's true, but it's also you learned it yourself. You don't make the decision. You decided for her early on. You were like, no, no, no. I'm not a man enough for her.
Hmm.
I can't love her. But that love is not for me. And then, oh, just that coming off the back of the last scene between these two, very cool.
Agreed. He squeezed her shoulder. But is that love? Is it love to assume for Ellen that he has no place with you? Or is it love to let him make his own decision in the matter?
And if I'm wrong for him,
You must love him enough to trust his wishes, even if you disagree with them. You must respect him, no matter how wrong you think he may be, no matter how poor you think his decisions. You must respect his desire to make them, even if one of them includes loving you.
preach. Sorry.
Vin smiled slightly, but she still seemed troubled.
And
She said very slowly,
if there is someone else for me,
"Ah." And that "ah" was him thinking.
mhm. I felt bad. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's like he doesn't know. We've known obviously,
Yeah.
and it's so that hit me hard because it's like you're like you at the moment she brings up love, you're like, "Oh, it's Ellen, right?" And then there's someone else that's a huge surprise to him.
Yep. And it's like comprehension of what this is really about.
Hmm.
And
She's looking for an excuse so she can go to the other person, basically.
yep. She tensed immediately.
You mustn't tell Ellen I said that.
I won't, Sazed promised. Who is this other man? Vin shrugged.
Just someone more like myself. The kind of man I should be with.
Do you love him?
He's strong. He makes me think of Calcia.
So there is another Mistborn, Sazed thought. In this matter, he knew he should remain unbiased. He didn't know enough about this second man to make a judgment, and keepers were supposed to give information but avoid specific advice. Sazed had never been very good at following that rule. He didn't know this other Mistborn, true, but he did know Alan Venture. Yeah, good. Good
Yeah,
Sazed.
good sausage. Yeah, it's like you're like, okay, I'm not gonna. Yeah, no. Ellen doesn't deserve this kind of cuckoldry. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Child, Elend is the best of men, and you have been so much happier since you've been with him.
But he's really the first man I loved. How do I know if it's right? Shouldn't I pay more attention to the man who is a better match for me? Shut up, stupid Vin. You know
Stupid
what?
man.
This is modern dating culture, honestly. This is swipe left and swipe right all over the place because what if there's someone else out there? Look, okay, I'm making it a lot worse than it actually is in the book, but because it really is because she doesn't feel she deserves to be loved by the best of men. So and there's this other guy who is janky as all hell, and she's like, you know what, maybe that's the one for me. So that's the underlying thing. But yeah, she she's just finding excuses not to be happy.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I'm like, how are you convincing yourself that you deserve you think do you think you'll be happier with this person? This insane thing here? You self-destructive cow?
I don't know, Lady Wynne. I honestly don't know. I've warned you of my ignorance in this area, but can you really hope to find a better person than Lord Elend? She sighed.
It's all so frustrating. I should be worrying about the city and the deepness, not which man to spend my evenings with.
It's interesting to me how confidently she said she should be worried about the deepness, because
Mhm.
Sazed has come to the conclusion that it's back, and we know that Vin had been worrying about it tremendously, and her worry is what instigated Sazed's worry, but I don't
Mm.
think we ever got a moment of Vin outside of realizing that it was the mists, like coming to the full-blown conclusion that it's that might not be true. It's just we haven't had it in a while. Point
But
being, it's interesting to me the confidence with which she says that.
we've had her make that sort of decision off screen, basically, as in we haven't been in her POV when she's put the connection together, like the Well of Ascension and things like that. Like she's thought about Well of Ascension and she's thought of the deepness, which things there are, but we know that she knows where it would be, but we never had her go, oh, I need to go to Terrace because that's where the Well of Ascension is. Like we haven't had that
Hmm.
specific train of
I,
thought. Yeah.
it feels like it's been a really long time since she's thought
Mhm.
about the deepness.
Yeah. And then here I'm like, she brings it up here and we could have a whole conversation about it, but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't talk about all of that, all of the conclusions she's come to, all of her instincts, all of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Sazed could stop her if she said, this is what I think, and he said, no, that's not right. She would still have gone. So I'm like, I was
Right.
dying for this conversation to go there, but it didn't.
Right? I was expecting her to say, hey, I spoke with Ellen
By the way.
yesterday. I'm going to be
Yeah.
leaving the city. I think I need to go to the Well of Ascension, or I think I need to go to Terrace.
Come
But
with
that
me.
never comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That this is where when I got to this, I was like, there you go. Dorcas was saying that she's going to bring him with, and she needs the terrorist people to guard her there. So this is when we talk about it. Nope, didn't come up at all.
Yep.
Like when Vin appeared at the window, that's what I thought the conversation was going to be about.
Yeah, same. It is hard to defend others when our own lives are in turmoil,
I just have to decide.
Vin said, standing, walking over toward the window.
Thank you, Zazed. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back to the city.
Sazed nodded, smiling. Vin shot backward out the open window, shoving herself against some bit of metal. Sazed sighed, rubbing his eyes as he walked over to the room's door and pulled it open. Tindwyl stood outside, arms crossed.
I think I would feel more comfortable in this city if I didn't know that our Mistborn had the volatile emotions of a teenage girl.
Funny, Tindwyl.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It's like, you know what? She ain't wrong.
Lady Wynn is more stable than you think.
Stable genius, Vin. Sazed, I've raised some 15 daughters. No teenage girl is stable. Some are just better at hiding it than others.
Then be glad she didn't hear you eavesdropping. She is usually rather paranoid about such things,
Vin has a weak spot regarding terrorist people.
Tindwyl said with a wave of her hand.
We can likely thank you for that. She seems to give great value to your advice.
Such as it is.
I thought what you said was very wise, Sazed. You would have made an excellent father.
Oh, my heart. Sazed bowed his head in embarrassment, then moved over to sit down. We should. A knock came at the door.
Now what?
Did you not order lunch? Tindwyl shook her head.
I never even left the hallway.
A
That
second
made me
later.
laugh. I was
Yeah.
like, geez, you didn't get us lunch. And I'm like, Sazed is probably hungry. So
A second later, Elend poked his head into the room. Sazed, could I talk to you for a bit? And at that point, I knew what the gimmick of this chapter, if gimmick's the right word, was going to be. And
the
it's
bit,
funny.
yeah.
It is funny. Yeah, the bit.
Yeah. It is funny. Especially of how like it was very well timed.
Yeah. Of course, Lord Elend, Sazed said, rising. Great, Elend said, striding into the room. Tindwyl, you are excused. Now, I had a little bit of an issue with Elend framing it like that to her. It's very rude. She
Like
comes into
yeah,
her
you don't have
room
yeah.
and
Their
it,
room, essentially, yeah.
yeah, and she's not his servant anymore, and he's not king anymore. And it's like, I need to speak with Sazed alone for a moment. Or you can
not
invite
you're
Sazed
excused.
out.
Yeah.
It's a bit much, Alan.
Yeah, he's rude and abrupt, and that's why she rolls her eyes. She's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but yeah, I rolled my eyes. I rolled my eyes when he did it. I rolled my eyes as well. So I was like, and then I read she rolled her eyes. I was like, girl, I get you.
She rolled her eyes, shooting an exasperated glance at Sazed, but stood and walked from the room. Thank you, Ellen said as she shut the door. Please sit, he said, waving to Sazed. Sazed did so, and Elend took a deep breath, standing with hands clasped behind his back. He had gone back to his white uniforms and stood with a commanding posture, despite his obvious frustration. Someone stole away my friend, the scholar, Sazed thought, and left a king in his place. I assume this is about Lady Wynne, Lord Elend? Yes, Elend said, beginning to pace, gesturing with one hand as he spoke. She doesn't make any sense, Sazed. I expect that. Hell, I count on it. She's not just female, she's Vin. But I'm left unsure how to react. One minute she seems warm to me, like we were before this mess hit the city, and the next she's distant and stiff. Perhaps she's as confused herself.
Mine says
And
perhaps she's just confused herself.
interesting. That is
I
not what
prefer she's just confused herself. Like she has confused herself, which is exactly what she has done.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
No, I like
I
like perhaps she's as confused herself because it's
she's
her
confused
level
with herself. Yeah.
Yeah, her level of confusion is equal to Ellen's level of confusion.
Okay, I'm just basic. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I appreciated this line because suddenly, like, Ellen has the knowledge of the Vin conversation that just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Perhaps she's as confused herself. Maybe. But shouldn't at least one of us know what is going on in our relationship? Honestly, Saz, sometimes I think we're too different to be together. Saz had smiled.
Ellen. No. What is that? What are you doing with that? What do you want to be with yourself, sir?
That, but also I feel like a lot of his internal concern has been that she's too mysterious, keeping too many secrets.
She does keep too many secrets. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think his concern was ever that they're too different. But it doesn't not make sense.
Yeah, it does not make sense. But I'm like, don't go that way. It's more like, yeah, I feel like she is hasn't been respecting him. She's been hiding things from him, and that's one way. That's a one-way flow. It's not cool.
Yeah.
She's listen, guys. Vin is the problem here.
Yes.
Sorry for you.
Sazed smiled. Oh, I don't know about that, Lord Elend. You may be surprised at how similarly the two of you think.
That was very funny because it's literally, we're too different to be together. And then he's like, I just heard that 5 minutes ago. So, yeah, I also laughed.
I doubt that, Ellen said, continuing to pace. She's Mistborn. I'm an ordinary man. She grew up on the streets. I grew up in a mansion. She is wily and clever. I'm book-learned. She is extremely competent, and so are you. She was oppressed by her brother, you by your father. Both of you hated the Final Empire and fought it, and both of you think far too much about what should be rather than what is. Elend cocked his head.
Thanks, Sazed. Exactly.
Elend cocked his head. What does that mean? It means that I think you two are right for each other. I am not supposed to make judgments, and truly, this is merely the opinion of a man who hasn't seen much of you two in the last few months, but I believe it to be true. And our differences? At first glance, the key and the lock it fits may seem very different. Different in shape, different in function, different in design. The man who looks at them without knowledge of their true nature might think them opposites, for one is meant to open and the other to keep closed. Yet upon closer examination, he might see that without one, the other becomes useless. The wise man then knows that both lock and key were created for the same purpose. Very wise.
Very beautiful. Great analogy.
Yep. Ellen smiled. You need to write a book sometime, Sazed. That's as profound as anything I've read. Sazed flushed but glanced at the stack of papers on the desktop. Would they be his legacy? He wasn't certain if they were profound, but they did represent the most cohesive attempt that he'd ever made at writing something original. True, most of the sheets contained quotes or references, but a great deal of the text also included his thoughts and annotations. Interesting
What's
thought
going to happen
there.
with this? Yeah.
Uh,
What's going to happen with this book?
it's going to be a very, very important book, I think. And this is the
Mhm.
first time he's really thought about his legacy. And I suspect it's the
Mhm.
first time a keeper has ever written his opinions on the histories. I
Mhm.
suspect, during the time of the Lord Ruler, it was just copy pasting and not
Mhm.
much. I think this, I think that. So,
Yeah, not much interpretation or analysis on paper, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. We certainly haven't had any clue that that's what they do, that they
yeah.
are scholarly in that way.
Yep. So, Elend asked, what should I do? About Lady Wynne? I would suggest simply giving her, and yourself, a little more time. Time is at a premium these days, Saz. When is it not? When your city isn't besieged by two armies, one of them led by a megalomaniac tyrant, the other by a reckless fool. Yes, I think you may be right. I should return to my studies. Ellen frowned. What are you working on anyway? Something that has little relevance to your current problem, I fear. Tyndville and I are collecting and compiling references about the deepness and the hero of ages. The deepness. Vin mentioned it too. You really think it might return? Good, Elend. Smart Elend.
Yeah, ask the right questions, Ellen.
Yes. I think it has returned, Lord Elend. It never left, really. I believe the deepness is, the mists. But why? Ellen said, then held up a hand. I'll read your conclusions when you've finished. I can't afford to get sidetracked right now. Thank you, Sawshead, for your advice. And that right there is a microcosm of the global warming allegory, right? We're all too busy
Yeah.
with what's right in front of us to worry about the end of the world.
Yeah, other people will deal with it, okay? He's busy with the people and the besieged and all of that.
Yep. Yes, a king indeed, Sawshead thought. Tindwell, you may come back in now. Sawshead, good day. Ellen turned toward the door and it cracked open slowly. Tindwell strode in, hiding her embarrassment.
How did you know I was there?
I guessed. You're as bad as Vin. Anyway, good day, both of you. Tindwell
I enjoyed
frowned.
that.
Yeah, me too. Tindwell frowned as he left. Then she glanced at Sawshead. You really did a fine job with him.
Too fine a job. I actually think that if people had let him remain in command, he might have found a way to save the city. Come, we must return to our work. This time, I actually did send someone for lunch, so we should get as much done as possible before it arrives.
Sawshead nodded, seating himself and picking up his pen, yet he found it difficult to focus on his work. His mind kept returning to Vin and Elend. He wasn't certain why it was so important to him that they make their relationship work. Perhaps it was simply because they were both his friends, and he wished to see them happy. Or perhaps
Is
there
this
was
him
some...
being soothed?
Uh,
Because
I
his mind
feel
keeps
like...
going back to this.
Yeah, I
Because you had
definitely
this.
think there's some sort of deeper importance there.
Hmm.
I definitely think that. I mean, the hero of ages, if it's not he and if it's not she, it could be both of them. I made the joke that
Mm.
friendship is the hero of ages. Maybe it's two
It's
sides
all
of the
three of
same
them.
coin thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this wanting them to be together thing is
They are the
a
hero of ages.
foreshadowing that it's they.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe.
Yeah. So the importance of that idea that it might be both of them hasn't come to Sazed yet, but it's nagging at him, and he cares about both of them, and he just wants them to be safe.
Yeah. Or perhaps there was something else. Those two were the best Luthadel had to offer, the most powerful Mistborn of the Ska underground, and the most noble leader among the aristocrats. They needed each other, and the Final Empire needed them both. What? The Final Empire needed them both? Not the
It's just the
world
way
needed them
the
both?
world,
Not
yeah, it's just
the
the
new
way that
kingdom?
the way his brain. It's like Lord Ruler. Everybody still swears that.
Yeah. What's the name of Ellen's new kingdom, by the way?
Eland.
Ellen's.
That's what it's called.
The nation of Eland.
Yeah.
Oh my
I am a
gosh.
great literary genius. Look out for my books.
I found that way too funny.
Because you were not expecting
No, I wasn't.
it.
Plus, there was the work he was doing. The specific pronoun used in much of the Terrace prophetic language was gender neutral. The actual word meant it, though it was commonly translated into modern tongues as he, yet each he in his book could also have been written as she, if Vin really was the hero of ages. So that's where he does the cliche, and
But I think he's going to turn it back on us.
yeah, I
It's
do
not.
too.
If I especially after what we've just discussed, like I don't think it's going from he to she. It's going to it. It's actually he's dismissed the it part, but it is what we have to think about,
Yeah,
as in that there is a third option, not the he and the she.
I agree.
Mhm.
But man, am I just annoyed by the cliche. I'm just,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I
no, I
think
think
it's
you're,
not going to be. It's not the cliche in. It's a misdirect. That's what I feel.
yeah, I think so too.
We hope it is.
I need to find a way to get them out of the city, Sazed thought, a sudden realization washing over him. Those two must not be here when Lusadel falls. He put aside his notes and immediately began writing a quick series of letters. See, and it's so annoying that he has that thought, like coming off the
Mhm.
heels of Vin saying, I need to leave the city. And then she goes
Mhm.
to Sazed and doesn't say, hey, by the way, I'm going to leave the city. And I guess it's because Sanderson wanted Sazed to have that thought, but I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
dislike it by any means, to be clear. I'm
Mhm.
deeply immersed in this story
Mhm.
and invested in it,
Yeah.
and I'm enjoying it tremendously.
Mhm. I'm thinking this also made me go, "Oh, okay, so Elend is leaving Luthadel. Sorry, Elend. Somehow he's going to land up going to the Well of
He's,
Ascension. It's not actually going to be that he's
he's gonna put up a fight.
yeah, I don't know how he's going to get him out, but that might be how it lands up. That Sazed's the one that gets it to the Well of Ascension, which is them. I don't know.
Yeah,
I love that we are so far in the book, but the mystery is there's new mysteries coming up. Like
yeah,
new mysteries connected to other old mysteries. The mist wraith thing and everything. Actually really good chapter. Yes, it felt
yes.
weird and misplaced, but not as bad second time through with you talking about it,
Thank you.
talking about yeah, it doesn't feel as misplaced because yeah,
Yeah,
we saw a lot more.
agreed.
Mm, mm.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Subscribe to that darn kid if you get a chance, because she's got a great channel. And we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.
Good, thanks, bye. Yet this soothsaying for the future is as it's oh mamma mia.
I do not think I am the me. Jesus.
Say mamma mia, it'll help.
Mamma mia.